Is there a story in particular that comes to mind when thinking of these human-looking ones that, to you, just strikes you as particularly fascinating?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like one of the most popular stories,
No.
but is there any?
Yeah.
Which one is that?
Several have been told to me personally.
Wow.
By just absolutely credible people. I'll tell you, I have two, I call them bookend stories. They go perfectly together. So back in 2008 or 2009, I was at some place in Vegas. I'm talking to an Army colonel, retired colonel, who had a lot of experience with black projects. He was a brilliant guy. And he told me a story about he and his wife was with him when he told the story. And they had another friend, a female friend, and they were at a Las Vegas casino. And he said, this guy, by the way, knew a lot about the UFO subject. But he said, we're on our own time. We're hanging out at a casino. I think it was the Wynn, actually, which is a great casino hotel, but I can't recall. He said, we're up there. We're on the second floor. And our friend, who he said was a psychic, she stops the two of them and she says, that woman over there is not human. And they look over and there's this very beautiful blonde woman in a striking blue outfit. Now, it's Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You get that there.
Sure. Blue is interesting too.
Oh, yes, yes. So she and his wife get scared and they go down the escalator, which is right there. The colonel is hanging behind and he's looking at this woman. And he said to me, and that's when I heard her in my mind, she turned slightly and he said, I heard her, she sounded like a cop on the beat, like, nothing to see here, go about your business, you don't belong, like, and it's like, how did I get that thought? And at that moment, she's joined by this beautiful blonde man wearing blue. Again, are you thinking Cirque du Soleil? Like, I don't know what this could be. But so they're hanging out, they're conferring. He doesn't hear anything at this point. So then they start walking toward the escalator where he is. So now this guy is a colonel. He has a PhD. He's a sharp guy. And he's thinking, I am going to talk to these people. I don't know what I'm going to say, but I'm going to talk to them. I want to find out what the hell is going on here. So they walk toward him, and instead he says nothing. They get on the escalator, they go down, but then he gets behind them. And he said to me, I heard them conversing in their minds. I said, do you know that they weren't talking? He says, look, I'm pretty damn sure they weren't talking. I'm hearing it. What were they saying? Well, they were saying something like, yeah, he can hear us. No, he's not important. He's not part of the program, or he's not part of anything we need to worry about. At this point, his wife interjected in the story. She was hilarious. She's like, oh yes, I remember this. My friend and I were peeking around the slot machines of this, like hiding behind the slot machine. So that was kind of nice little confirmation there. But anyways, the couple gets down to the bottom of the escalator and they walk out and they're gone. So then 3 of them are conferring and they're like, that was crazy. So the woman, the psychic friend, also did regressive hypnosis. And she says, you know, I could regress you, Colonel, so that maybe you can relax and maybe you can remember if there's anything more that you can remember about what you think you heard. I guess that was the plan. So he's like, all right, cool. So he goes a day or two later. He's at her place in this cul-de-sac, quiet neighborhood. And he said, every time that she tried to regress me, we heard like construction noise outside, like jackhammers, machinery.
Kind of like what we're hearing now.
Exactly. Except in that case, they would go out to look and they didn't see anything. So he says, no biggie. I'll be back in about a month. Maybe we can get together and do this then. She's like, great. So a month later, he calls her. He says, hey, I'm going to be in town. Can we do that regression? She says, what regression? The regression last month, Las Vegas. Apparently, she remembered nothing of this encounter. I have one more story that I have to tell you. So that's that whole story.
That's fascinating.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
So 2 years later, I'm in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Interesting place.
I have some family there too, by the way. But I was doing an event. I got my table. I'm selling my little books to them, I think. And this very nice lady, she's about 60, walks up to my table with her husband. And she says, I got a story for you. Can I tell you? I'm like, yeah. So she says, when I was 15 years old, would be about 1965. I was in church in Western Pennsylvania in a tiny little town with my mother. And she said, in our town, everyone knew everyone, especially in church. So she's in church. So she said, in front of me, in front of the aisle ahead of us, were this blonde couple, male, female, come walking in. She says they were absolutely gorgeous. They looked like supermodels. She said they had this incredible blue clothing. I was looking at the fabric. She's a 15-year-old girl, so she's into fashion. She said, I have never seen such incredible, beautiful clothing. And she's marveling and thinking, why is no one else in this church looking at these two people? She said they stuck out like a sore thumb. It's like, Marilyn Monroe and, Cary Grant.
How could you not stare at them?
Yeah. So, but no one was noticing them apparently. And then she said to me, and that's when I heard them in my mind. And what she heard was one of them thinking to the other, something like, well, we appear to be fitting in pretty well here. And she's like, and then one of them, maybe the same one, I don't know, said, except for the girl behind us who can hear us. And that's what she's like, practically freaking out. After that, she heard nothing. It's like they shut it down. The other thing she said about them is that they're in Mass, and they didn't really know how to, this is a Catholic Mass, which I grew up doing. Sit, kneel, sign of the cross, all that. They're like looking around. They don't know what to do. So they clearly did not fit in.
Just trying to fit in.
Right. So it gets better. So she goes through the whole Mass. Mass ends. The couple is up and out. And they book it out of the church. And she decides, I'm going after them. This 15-year-old kid. And meanwhile, Mom was utterly oblivious. And she's like, where are you going, young lady? Get back here. And she's just gone. She's working her way through the crowd, following this couple. She sees them go out the front of the church. They cut across the parking lot. And she's like hustling. And they go over like this crest of a hill. And she's following. They go down this hill. There's a field. And there's a wooded area. So they're not going to a parking lot or a car. So that's kind of interesting too. Let's just note that little bit. So she's going across the field. She's going down the hill. And then she stops dead in her tracks. She said, then I saw a third person at the entrance of the wooded area. She said, remember Lurch from the Addams Family? No. Looked just like that guy.
Terrifying.
Very tall, like a man in black, but very tall, kind of ungainly tall. Hat and a black suit, apparently. And this beautiful blonde supermodel couple from Venus or Pleiades or wherever they're from walk past him into the woods. Into the woods. He turns around and follows them. And that was her story. So this is a 60-year-old woman, nice little suburban lady in the middle of Western Pennsylvania, just had to tell me this story with her husband there.
That is unbelievable. And I've heard, it's so crazy because my neurons are firing because I've had a lot of people come to me with their fair share of stories as well. And so many things that you just talked about, these people who had no reason to contact me and don't want to go public have told me similar stories.
Yeah, I bet.